Hey guys, I made kombucha. It's not Smirnoff, it's kombucha, and I'll show you how to make it. First of all, if you want to know what kombucha is, it's essentially the byproduct of the fermentation of black tea or green tea and sugar mixed in with a SCOBY. And a SCOBY is essentially a fungi, a collection of microorganisms that actually eat away at the sugar and the caffeine, and they produce what we would call fermentation. Sort of the process getting along towards alcohol, but it's not quite alcohol. Now this one is fermented and it is carbonated, so there's little bubbles coming up, and it's also flavored with some strawberries. So I want to show you how to do that. Alright, so some of the things that you're going to need are, first off, a SCOBY. These you can usually find either by asking a friend who's made kombucha before, because when they ferment, usually another one grows, so that you can share this with someone. If you can't find one within your friend group, you can order them online. I think Amazon has them for something like $10. They're quite cheap, and you should never need to buy another one. I also have some black tea. I have some sugar for the SCOBY to eat while it's in here. Now this guy is a big glass jar. You don't want to have a lid that's firm. This is just a cloth as a lid, and what it does is it covers this up from any bacteria entering during the fermentation process, but it also allows for the air to expand, because all these things are happening and it would just explode if you didn't have that. Here's another one that I made. It is apple and cinnamon flavored. Whew. And I have this empty bottle. Now everything that you touch and use has to be sterilized, because this is a living organism that we're working with. The SCOBY needs to have a clean environment, a sterile environment, so that it can grow and none of the bacteria that's in there becomes mold or some kind of unwanted fungus. I also have some fruit. If we're gonna flavor these, we're gonna want some fruit. So to start, what I'm gonna do is brew some tea. All right, to start, I would recommend using about 8 tea bags worth of dried black tea. I'm just eyeballing this, so we'll see. I'm happy with that. Okay, so now that we've brewed the tea for about 4 or 5 minutes, not more, because we don't want to make the tea too bitter, I'm going to strain it into our glass jug. Okay, so now that we've got the tea inside, we have to let it cool. See how steamy and hot it is? If we put the SCOBY in right now, it'll kill the SCOBY with it being so hot. So we're going to let it cool down to room temperature, then we're going to put our SCOBY in. However, in the meantime, we'll take about a cup of sugar and pour her into the hot tea. And instead of putting something inside of the tea, keeping it sterile as possible, I'm just gonna swirl this around instead. And then we're gonna cover this up just in case any flies or creepers wanna come around and touch it. So our tea is ready. It looks like it's cool now. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the SCOBY in. But first I need to thoroughly wash my hands. It's a good idea regardless, but especially when you're working with anything that is alive and growing, we need to make sure that our hands are clean. So I'll start there. So I want to show you what the SCOBY looks like up close. It's kind of gross. So this is our SCOBY. One of them, actually, because there's a few here. Look at this thing. It's super slimy. Now, some interesting information about bacteria. Our bodies are made up of trillions of different microbes and bacteria, and I believe for every 1 human cell you have about 10 bacteria in your body. So I'm going to put this first SCOBY in. Slip him in there. And I'm actually going to put this guy in there too and see if it's not a problem to have 2 going. But I'm going to switch them around, I think. careful. Now, of course, this guy needs some more water, so we're gonna do that too. Okay, so now that the scobies are in, I have a little tea from my last brew, and I'm gonna put some of that in. If you didn't make one, if you're in a catch-22 situation, what you can do is just buy kombucha from the store and put a little in. This is just the tea, it's not actually carbonated yet, it's just fermented. And you can see at the bottom there's tons of little goodies. I'm gonna get those in there as well. Now we are ready to cover our SCOBY and our tea and sugar mixture with a cloth lid, not a solid lid. We're gonna let it sit in a dark space for a few days to a week. That's it. Leave them there for a few days. So now that we're in the fermentation process, it'll be about a week before it's really ready to add flavoring or carbonate the mixture. But what I can show you first is these bottles. Now, you're gonna wanna have a bottle with a lid on it. A wine bottle could work if you can put the cork back in. And these have to be sterilized before you bottle them. So I'll show you a few different ways to do for just a minute or so into the microwave. Hopefully this is sterilized, but it's gonna be super hot, so be careful. Oh yeah, see it's steaming, it's that hot. So, breathe out. And the lids need to go in. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes. I'm gonna take these out and let them cool down completely before we put any kombucha in. If we put it in too soon, it'll kill all of the bacteria that we want to stay alive in the kombucha. Hey guys, so it's been about 7 days since I first brewed my tea, sugar, and SCOBY. It's been sitting in the dark, and now I think it's time to check on it, and if it's ready, it's time for flavoring and carbonation. So I'll show you how that's done. Oh yeah, look at that thing. It's so alive. Wow, you can really see the SCOBY in there. It looks bigger, you can see some bubbles coming up. Alright, let's look inside. Ooh. Alright, check that out. So there's a little bit of stuff growing on top, the SCOBY, it's really done well. It smells really good, it smells sweet, and it smells sort of like kombucha. But I can't know until I try it, so I'm gonna put a little bit of this in there and see how it tastes. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's perfect. He's ready. All right, so now that he's ready to come out, our SCOBY, with very, very clean hands, we're gonna very gently get him out of there. Isn't this so strange? So next I want to work on the flavoring and carbonation. So the carbonation is essentially the fizzy part, right? And I want to flavor it. I have some strawberries that I froze the other day. I have a mango and a secret ingredient, pineapple. This thing will carbonate the drink like crazy. So I'm going to give my kombucha a little whirl one last time to get all of the pieces that have floated to the bottom back up to the top so that every bottle has a more consistent kombucha in it. I don't have a funnel, but I have this little coffee cup with a spout. The inside is clean. I'm just gonna start bottling my kombucha. All right. Now this one is gonna be strawberry. I'm gonna start putting some of my fresh cut strawberries. Okay, so I plopped some strawberries in some pineapple, and I filled this guy all the way up. I'm gonna put the lid on, but very lightly, because this is gonna carbonate so much that if I were to screw this lid on, it will burst and potentially break the glass. Not safe, not a good idea, and it doesn't taste good if you can't drink it. All right, there's the first one. All right, and there you have it. 3 bottles of kombucha. Ooh. Mango, pineapple, and strawberry. Each of these has a little bit of pineapple in them to really support the carbonation process. I'm gonna leave these out for another 3 or 4 days, we'll see. I'll check back on them in a few days and I'll give you an update. So it's been a few days since I first started the carbonation process of my kombucha, and they are ready. After about 3 or 4 days of carbonation, I've been checking the lids to make sure the pressure doesn't get too high, and they seem to be perfectly carbonated. Not too much pressure to break the glass, but a little bit of fizz, it's great. So I'm gonna put them in the fridge to halt the carbonation process, and later today they'll be cold and ready to drink. If you have any ideas or any flavor combinations that you've tried, let me know. For instance, I tried apple and cinnamon stick as well. You could try as many combinations as you can. I think that avocado doesn't work though, so don't try that one. But everything else, fruit-wise, probably will work. Be experimentative and curious, and let me know what you come up with. Enjoy!